Hello and welcome. It's another Wednesday. It's another We Are Developers Live, and I'm joined here by Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
Hello. Yeah, I'm very well as always. Yeah, it's the second week now. We've actually had a bit of stability. You've stayed in Germany for an entire week, which is a bit of a change. But yeah, nice to be back as always.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at a house to buy still, and it's every meeting I have, somebody calls me. It's amazing how real estate agents are basically, you send them a text message and then they call you back and tell you the
Yeah.
things that you then have to write down somewhere. And you're like, why don't you just send me an email? There's a track record of it. It's a really good idea to do, but no. Everybody says like it's got to be the personal touch because then you sell more, I guess.
Yeah, and it's really hard, isn't it, to not be sort of quite cynical and skeptical when you're with estate agents because it's a game. And I even had an estate agent once tell me that he played air guitar trying to connect with me. He saw some guitars and said I played air guitar. I thought it was a hilarious joke, and then I realized he actually did think that was a real thing, and he just wanted to be friends with me. So
Oh
you're sort
dear
of
Lord.
ducking and diving. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, kids. Hello, fellow kids. I remember that
Yeah.
there was this one street in London that is only music instruments around Tottenham Court Road, music shops, and they had this air guitar stand outside, which was just an empty guitar stand.
Genius. A pound to go up and use it though would have been really, really smart. I think somebody did that with Status Quo. They followed the band around the world selling air guitars, and they made, some millions. So maybe we're doing the wrong thing building software. We should just be selling air guitars.
Oh, no, like a wireless cable. You can sell that one to people or something like that. Well,
Genius.
I thought we don't have enough people here today that are making bad jokes and are actually geeks. So we thought we get a friend in today as well. And I'm very happy that we got Raymond Camden here today, who's actually in the East Coast of America. So it's very early, but he's got kids, so he had to get up early anyways. So how are you doing, Raymond?
I'm doing just fine. I'm not East Coast. I'm deep south, and we just got a cold front where it'll be like 70. So I'm, hoodied up and enjoying the cold weather.
Well, it was 0 degrees this morning here in Berlin, which is like, yeah, in a measurement that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. So, Raymond, you've been around for quite a while. I mean, in your youth, you actually you hung out with a weird crowd, which was Cold Fusion. What was that about?
So when I first started in web dev, like you did everything because there were no separate roles, and I found out that doing the pretty stuff was just not my forte. I like doing the dynamic stuff, and the only way to do that was Perl CGI scripts. Like, that was the only option. And at some point, we needed to talk to SQL Server, and I did not want to do that with Perl. I looked online, probably Alta Vista, maybe back then,
Yeah.
and I found Cold Fusion, and I had something up and running in 30 minutes or so. It's back then it was incredibly easy and incredibly powerful. So there was PHP as well, but I think Cold Fusion was a lot more approachable. The community has always been a lot of non-computer science, non-traditional people, which I think has been a benefit for it, which I thought was really nice.
And it had like tag syntax as well. Like it didn't have any scripting syntax, but you actually everything felt like a component now, if you think about it. Yeah. So it's put
Yeah,
that
it's funny.
XSLT as well. Heck yeah.
Yeah. I got big into web components like 2 years or so ago, and then I started seeing people talking about let's do server-side render web components. I'm like, wait a minute, we had that 20 years ago with Cold Fusion. I'm sure even PHP was doing that as well.
Hmm. And you've been quite around the last few years in like different companies and lately you've been job searching and I heard today that that's over again. How did you what kind of feelings did you have? Like did you do you think there is an ageism issue right now if you apply for jobs at our age or Dan's age in 10 years?
Let me just say, you asking what kind of feelings I'm having is a huge question. I don't. We could spend a lot of time talking about mental health because mine has not been great this year. It's been incredibly hard. Um, but there's therapy and other things, etc. Uh, yeah, maybe ageism. Like uh, most of my career, when I was looking, I would have like one call with a company and get an offer. Like, and I don't think I was stellar. I think it was good. I think I'm good. Uh, but it was a heck of a lot easier to get an offer. And laid off by Adobe late last year, and it took me 5 months to find a job, and most companies never respond.
Well,
5% of the rest reject you without any interview at all, and it was really hard to get past the first interview with most companies. This time around, it's been better. I definitely got a lot more first interviews, and I got more second interviews. And in theory, I'm done today or so, and so it's 2 months versus 4 months or 5 months. So it's better, but like it's a better version of hell. Like the weather here, like, when it drops 10, 15 degrees, like, oh, the sun's not killing me. This is wonderful weather.
like, how does it work in the US? Like in Germany, when I was looking for a job, and basically I already had one lined up, but I had to actually go to the unemployment office and actually say that I'm job seeking, because otherwise I would have get kicked out of the healthcare product. So you have to do the same in the US?
Yeah, so the first time Adobe was very generous with severance, and it lasted the entire time, and they covered health as well. They were shockingly generous. I'm very happy with that. Um, this time, the company I worked for, I won't even name, they were not as generous. So I went on. My wife went on the market and found health insurance that we're paying for out of pocket. And thankfully, that was available, and it was a lot cheaper than Cobra. Um, but yeah, it was still a bit scary. Like, we weren't sure if we could get anything. And we have a crap ton of kids, so that was a worry as well. But
Yeah.
wife is very smart. She found something, and we're good for now.
Yeah, I mean, it was hilarious when I went to the job center, and basically they said, like, when we here last time, and I was 1994, and they're like, so you're probably not the computer then. And I'm like, no, probably not. And then they're like, so what are you looking for? And I'm like, I want to be a director level in IT again. Here's my Microsoft work contract. And he's like, well, we don't have any of that. Like, what's that number even? Like the salary, the American salary that was on that one. He was like, this is impossible to actually consider. And then he was actually telling me that there's a website called WeAreDevelopers where you can actually look for jobs. And that was already when Seat, our boss, had given me the offer to work at WeAreDevelopers. So I was like, that was an interesting validation. I didn't see that one coming, come from a person in a job center. So that was pretty interesting to see. But yeah, I also found that, like, I applied for a few things, and then they're like, oh, so you've been with Microsoft for 8 years. Yeah, then your knowledge of the market is not that good. So what are you doing about that? And you're like, you just using the browser that I've been writing. Like, what are you doing? Like, but it feels like that there is an idea of when you stay longer with a company, then your skill set deteriorates, which I find really bizarre.
It's like, what are they thinking you're doing? Like, you got a job and you just stopped?
Yeah.
Like, especially in our field, like, you can't stop. You constantly have to be keeping up to date with things. So it shows an ignorance of what we do.
Talking of which, let's go through some things to do and some things to work on. So this is loading. This is actually getting there. Yeah, I was really annoyed because our GitHub didn't build pages for the last 5 days because a credit card that we used didn't work. So I was like, what's going on? But now we have it again, so that's good. So let's talk about some things that are current affairs. I love this article by Zeltman, Jeffrey Zeltman. In case you don't know him, it's like one of the people that actually wrote the first web book about building with web standards. Massive good designer in the US. And I tried to invite him as a speaker, but he basically said, like, I don't have anything new to bring to the table. I don't really. I'm just doing this stuff right now. But I love that he listed when OpenAI came out with the Comet browser, I think it was named. It was like, and Wired is like, the web is dead. And then he listed like all the things from 1997, 2004, 2018, when Wired actually listed that the web is dead every single time because somebody brought out a new browser, or like somebody. Second Life was the other thing, and then the metaverse and these kind of things. But it feels like I think there is a point to the article. I think that search is dead the way we actually knew it. The web is not going away. Like, you can still publish it, and please publish on the web because it makes total sense. But the way we actually think that people search things in Google and then find your stuff, this is not anymore the case. And with AI agent browsers kind of things. And I'm worried about that because how do you get things listed? How do you get people to point it there? But on the other hand, I feel like it's like we're back in the trenches when the web started. Like we didn't have search engines back then. We had like Yahoo, we had like Alta Vista, as you said earlier. The search engines didn't index it. You had to actually go to the search engines and tell them about your products. But I think the web as a platform cannot go away because it's a decentralized thing. But I think, have we missed the bus on that? Like, have we missed that people are not that excited about the web anymore? I mean, I'm still. How about you, Raymond?
I still love. I mean, I got into the web when I failed out of comp sci. Like, I couldn't hack the math. I couldn't write algorithms that sorted efficiently or whatever. And like right when I switched from computer science to English as a major in college, the web came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is I could write code, and it's a lot easier, and people can see it." So it's always appealed to me. It's always been welcoming. And again, I've worked in communities with a lot of non-traditional people who were able to build on the web. So I think that's something that is still true today, and it's still a great thing. Like, I love to see people who, don't have the comp sci background being able to create a presence of some sort on the internet.
But then again, that's what people say about data scientists now, that basically everybody can like, I mean, I'm on the cusp of releasing an article about this where I talked about that we digitized Dunning-Kruger. We basically, AI tells everybody you're a creative person, you're just a great writer because you just created that stuff and send it out there. And the web is like drowning in AI generated nonsense and also sense, but fully generated stuff. So it feels weird to actually put that effort in, but I think it's really worthwhile to put the effort in just to be able to publish, because that was a thing that was impossible before the web. It was really expensive to write for a newspaper or get your stuff published there. And on the web, it was always free and it's still available. So that's pretty good to see.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I can be honest on my blog. I can share feelings and stuff like that, things that I would not have been able to do without the web. So I still appreciate that. I still love that about it.
Yeah, there was this TV show we watched yesterday about like about inventions that got away and basically that were a great thing back then. And it was about ham radio and
Mhm.
CB, citizen band radio, like. And when I saw that, and it was they interviewed like truckers, how they said like we had like whole conversations while we're driving over that stuff. And I remembered IRC, and that was kind of the same thing. Like IRC was like a social media platform to a degree, but also a very close knit community. You knew people there. You then visited them. You traveled to their country. You had like parties together and stuff. And that was just IRC. And I think now with social media being like so fleeting, like basically I can't even, by the time I try to repost something on Instagram, I accidentally reload it and I can't find it anymore. And it feels like that social aspect of the social has been taken out in terms of for clicks and interaction, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I miss like just on my own blog. I used to have a great community of people who would comment, and now I get like one comment a month if I'm lucky.
Yeah,
And yeah, I miss that.
I mean, I turned that off a long time ago. I have this Fediverse plugin on my WordPress as well, and I get like
Mhm.
thousands of comments where it's just somebody liked or somebody boosted it, and I'm like, yeah, I could display that, but what for? Like, what's the game, the benefit of that? Like, it feels wasted.
Mhm.
Cool. Just a quick note, Celdo, I'm trying to get him to speak at our event soon again as well. And he talked about like that 2026 is the year of fine-tuned small models. And I think it's an interesting one because LLMs were like this big thing and like it's the internet in a database, so to say. And now we seem to be realizing it's always most of the time too much. And fine-tuned smaller models seem to be a movement that's happening right now. Do you feel the same? I mean, you do a lot of like AI on device stuff. Do you actually do your own racks, kind of like pre-filtered things, or do you use the big ChatGPT ones?
Yeah, and I know we're talking about this a bit later, but the Chrome AI stuff is very focused on specific needs. So they have like a general purpose chat where you could just ask whatever, but like most of the APIs they are releasing are very task oriented. So they're not, trying to solve every problem. They're trying to, you know, give you tools to help in small atomic type ways. So I definitely see that as being something that's a bit more useful and helpful.
Mm. Now, one thing that I thought didn't work anymore, but it's still a thing that I loved, is honeypot fields. You may not be aware of this. What it is basically, when you have a hidden field that says email and the real email field has another name, then basically, if it's filled in, then you know a bot has to come to your site and send it. The other problem with that is then when browsers started allowing you to to autofill fields, and it wasn't called email, the autofill wouldn't work. So that was how that actually backfired after a while. But this is still a thing that kind of works. Instead of just having to put a captcha on your page, put a honeypot in there and say like, okay, that obviously was not a human who filled that out. But it's an interesting challenge, isn't it? Like, you want to make it accessible at the same time. You don't want to make it too accessible for bots and automation. So Dan, have you played with that before, or have you looked at honeypots and heard of them before?
Yeah, I mean, I've only really ever come across it in sort of a situation where I've got like a small video company, and our form was getting hammered, and it was essentially where we went down the path of kind of honeypots then to kind of figure out where this was coming from and to try and kind of mitigate it. But it's not something I've really kind of, I suppose it's the things I'm building, they're not getting traffic where it's going to be like a major issue, but it just feels like it's this it's really like indicative of kind of the problem, right, that we've got, where we love this technology, but now it's starting to eat itself, where we've always had bots, we've always had AI, or more recently AI kind of causing problems. But it's now that, the very tools that we love and we're trying to use and use them responsibly are the same tools that are being used to do this kind of stuff at scale, and I know that's kind of the nature of like security, right? That is what it is. But it's just a shame that with the web being so advanced that we're actually still having to put in these really hacky approaches of just, here's a slightly different way of honeypotting a bot because it's gotten smarter than it was 2 years ago. It's such a shame.
Yeah, I remember that somebody sent the text of the Declaration of Independence of America to an AI bot and asked if it's actually AI generated, and it said yes. So there are like lots of central looping going on there, and I think it's just a very cool that these little things still work. And I mean, there's also these tar pits for bots to actually send them to, or a more brutal way was sending a zip bomb back to any LLM bot that comes to your website. I saw that one as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff, but this is a very unobtrusive way to actually secure your stuff. Now, engineering managers should sometimes write code, and I think this is an interesting one in terms of career. I don't know, Raymond, have you ever been into lead development management? Have you ever had teams to manage as well, or did you take the IC route for life?
Yeah, no, I've not managed anyone yet. That is something that I want to do eventually. Like, I want to lead a DevRel team, but it's not something I've done yet.
And do you think that engineering managers should still write code, or is it something that feels like forced?
I think you need to at least understand the basics of your platform. I don't think you need to be like a PhD level coder per se, but I can't imagine a world where I never write code again. Like, I remember my first program. Have enjoyed it every day since then. So I never want to stop doing that personally.
Yeah, it's a gig thing, isn't it? I mean, I remember when my ex-girlfriend was doing we tried to organize something in the house, and I went to the console and start writing a script, and she's like, "I'm using an Excel sheet for that. What are you doing?" Like, but I'm gonna out Dan now. I mean, Dan looks like rock and roll, like tattoos and everything, and like guitars and shit. But he's like the Excel master. He really, really gets excited about coloring them in and using them properly.
Because to me, there's no difference really between, I mean, it's syntax, right? That I think I told you before, Chris, I actually started, if you like, or kind of got the bug for programming with Excel, because I thought, well, I was a teacher, I was automating writing reports, and I thought, I wonder if I could kind of put a nice UI on this. And I was already building very much front end, just sort of UI designs. And yeah, it really kind of it led me down that path of seeing how something can have just some really simple logic to do something really powerful that saves a lot of time, and then giving it to somebody else and seeing them have that time-saving experience, you know. I think going back to what you're saying, Raymond, I cannot imagine not getting that bug or even wanting that kind of feeling of like, oh, it clicks, something works, or it slightly works, even a little bit. I can't imagine. And I mean, just to finish up that point, for coming in education, or when I was in education, we had a manager once say to a group of teachers, you have all lost the craft of teaching. Now, that was a quote, the same person was kind of reviewed quite badly by students when they were teaching, and they hadn't taught for around 10 years. And I actually felt like this hits on this same point of, if that person had done 2 hours teaching a week, we would have respected him saying that, because you would have said, well, at least you still understand what you mean. Whereas somebody who says, I never write code, it would be like looking at your code saying, this is awful. And you would have a little thing in the back of your head going, what do you know? You know,
Yeah.
I feel like it's that.
That's also an interesting one. 1 in 5 security breaches now thought to be caused by AI-written code. That's a very squirrely way of writing a headline, though. Like, it feels like, oh, we make an accusation, but we can't quite back it up, so we're not quite sure about it. But yeah, I think there is a lot of like laissez-faire in AI-generated code that basically is the idea. And that always ails me when people talk about like, oh, I'm doing vibe coding and these kind of things. Don't worry about the code can be replaced the next minute again, but it only needs one backdoor in there, one malware bit to get through, and you're screwed. And I think that's an interesting one. But yeah, I'm not surprised that actually, but I don't think it's actually the AI written code. It's just the way we actually release things, just because we need to release them quickly, rather than doing like the due diligence and testing them properly and doing like pen testing on the things before we roll them out. But at the same time, there's lots of like MCPs for security and these kind of things. So it will be interesting to see how that arms race is working out. And talking about the races, a DNS race condition was actually the reason for Amazon's cloud outage. Did that affect you in any way, Raymond? Because I was offline, I didn't care.
I think when I woke up, it had already been happening, and it wrapped up a couple hours later. It didn't really impact me. I was still able to work. I think my blog went down for a little while, but people smarter than me got it back up, so I didn't give a dang about it.
How about you, Dan? Do you use AWS for anything vital? Did your door not open anymore because Alexa didn't let you in, or?
No, luckily. And in fact, we did have that conversation, you know, saying, yeah, isn't this kind of the downside to making everything smart? I mean, I did have, it's kind of maybe a UK specific one, but I thought it was quite funny on this. I had a friend text me and say, is this website down? Is this website down? And I sent them is it down for me or whatever it is, saying you can check here, you know. And then they said to me something like that they thought for a while that this was the next step in the kind of UK control of the internet, and that they'd done the online digital ID, and that this now means you have to verify your age to use certain websites. And my friend went straight to the conspiratorial, I think they've put another layer of access, and that he thought he was being blocked from certain sites. So it was nice actually to be able to send him a headline and say it's just AWS, and he had no idea what it is, but it's like scary that most of the web runs on it, right? It's
well, not only the web. This was the really cool thing here, that actually somebody found out that his bed wouldn't work anymore because it was relying on AWS. I mean, this is what? Also, what's with the font size? Holy cow. So yeah, as a result of the AWS, number of commercial products stopped working in the 8 sleep pod beds. Yeah. So make warmer, make cooler, raise lower. That didn't work out anymore. Yeah, that's bad, isn't it?
In what way didn't it work? Was it like, what do you need to make a bed work? You just get on it. Am I
Well, I
being?
guess basically it failed to give you the strength or the hardness of it, or was completely soft, or I don't know. I mean, there's lots of jokes in your bed getting too soft because AWS is down, but that's probably not a thing we want to go into. But it's interesting how many of these things are connected, and it's just pretty mental that this kind of stuff. Yeah, I always wonder, like, how do you do it with like smart locks and stuff? Like when there's a power outage, do they unlock or do they lock? Because both are bad, right?
A good point.
How do you set that? Like, it's a weird one. Okay, a few tips and tricks. Here's somebody with scripts that they use all the time, which are some clipboard stuff, file management, internet. I have a whole list of little scripts that I use for myself in the console, in the browser, and also on the terminal. Am I weird, or do you also have a list of things that you do? Do we all have our little library, Raymond?
I have scripts. I can't remember them, so I have to use a notebook app where I type very clearly, "I'm trying to do X," and then here's the script, so I can remember. Oh yeah, this is how I did it. One of them was getting a video from a popular video hosting site. I won't name them, but you can find command line tools. I will download the video to your system. So I know that I have that. I also know it's a very weird, long command line tool. So I store in my little OneNote app, get certain site video, and then I have the command line there.
YTDLP does a good job there. So you don't, I heard. Yeah, but it's interesting that like once you actually get to start scripting, you don't want to go back to anything else any longer, because it feels weird because it's incomprehensible to normal human beings, but it's just so incredibly powerful. And I keep blowing Dan's mind with like a few of the FFmpeg stuff that I do for us. And it's just like, as soon as you got past that fear of like regex and weird syntax, you can do so many cool things with that.
Yeah, pretty much any process that I do more than once, I try to make something for my blog. I have a couple different scripts just because I'm writing all the time, and they're focused on making that part easier for me.
So yeah, I mean, the other thing is also like you normally try to share them, like this blog post and stuff, but I found that people don't use them. They just write their own, and like I think it's the rite of passage to actually understand your own scripts that makes it so sharing them is not as useful as we thought it would be.
This exact type of content, I think it's exactly that. Like the people who do this don't want to use anybody else's; they want to write their own.
We're a strange type.
I like that one. This is a web component that allows you to actually use show syntax highlighted code in your blog or HTML site or anything. And it's one of those that doesn't generate like a ton of divs and spans, because it's always a tricky thing. Like, how do you display demo code in an article? Like, do you make it an image so it's actually beautiful but actually not accessible and not readable? Or do you make it code for copy and pasting? And like, do you make it like color coded? And I found that like I'm using a really old Code.js highlight blah whatever in WordPress, and it's like it's using table layouts and everything in there. But I've got 2,700 blog posts that would break if I changed it to something else right now. But it might be good to use a component like that to not have that problem.
I've used Prism.js, I think, for like 5 or so years. I honestly don't know what it's doing. I think it may be doing a bunch of divs, but it looks nice. It's readable. That's what I care about.
It's Lea Varou, isn't it? That actually
Yeah.
did it, I think. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Now, same document view transitions are now baseline. That was Bramos on the thing. Now, I haven't used them yet. Dan, you've been looking into view transitions a bit. It seems like the thing to make everything look like an SPA, but it's not.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say it's the React effect, really. It's and I get it. It's natural that kind of people want to create, recreate some of the effects they see on kind of modern framework-based sites. But I still writing the article a few weeks back on it. I do like it. I feel that it's possibly for some devs they're going to say, oh, it's a little bit too complex. It's not really, but it just on the surface, because they might feel like, well, if I just stick with my React way of working, I've already got I believe it's I'm not sure what it's called now, React transition or something like this, React view transition. There's a package that comes with it and everyone just uses that. And the point of the article was to say it's not that much more difficult to do it using the web. It's just whether people will put that time in. I quite like the demo though, I will say, on that web page. They've used them to demonstrate it. So it works quite well there.
Wasn't there already an announcement now that Safari has broken it somehow again, and we have to think about wait for the next version? I think there was something there, but yeah, okay. But yeah,
there is.
Yeah, personally, I'm just happy to see anything talking about non-SPA. Like for 10 years now, like the assumption is that every single website has to be an SPA. And when I would talk about PWAs, I would stress everything we talk about in building a PWA, everything applies to every website out there. You can do the caching, you can do all these things to store data without having an SPA as well. So I'm happy to see people remembering that you don't need to use React or you don't need to use a framework. You can have a multi-document application or whatever. I'm happy for that. Outside of that, transitions are something where, like, whenever I talk about it on stage, I'm like, before you add a transition, add it, sit at your desk, run it 100 times. If you don't hate yourself, keep it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really good thing because, I mean, smooth animations when they're not smooth and take away your time, it's really not that fun. Yeah. Interesting. I love this one. Unlocking free Wi-Fi on British Airways. Somebody went like in incredibly amount of detail to show like how British Airways gives you like free messaging on the plane during Wi-Fi thing, but it charges you for data. And then he basically said he had a script and he went through like write a little proxy and an SSL handshake and go through it and say like, okay, now I can actually, with this script and the proxy running, I now get access to the internet. Whereas like other people would just pay for it. But I find it fascinating that somebody did that whole analysis. I wonder what British Airways is going to do about it, because I had a similar thing on German trains, so that like it has free Wi-Fi, but it only gives you like 200 meg of traffic or 500 meg of traffic or something, and then it kicks you out. So what you need to do is basically change your MAC address and actually reconnect. So I wrote myself a script to do that automatically. And then I think I tweeted it back then, and people then like I got a letter in the mail from them later on saying like don't do that, please, and don't tell people about that.
Because that will definitely solve it if we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I just hope this stays for the next 6 weeks, though, Chris, because I'm going on a British Airlines flight in 6 weeks, so I want to try this. So if you could have published this in a month's time, that would have been great.
I mean, it's normally the thing like when you have something, you connect to something that asks you to log in, like Google Drive and Dropbox and all these things already connect before you actually entered that stuff. So I think it's the same level of like just the port 80 traffic is blocked until you put something in, and then you just tunnel through 80 and you're done. This felt too close to home, sadly enough. It used to be common for people in their late 30s to 40s to acquire a project car, which was often a high school dream car purchased at the end of his life with the goal of restoring. In the 2010s, the retro computing scene emerged for the same age group. It feels like that. That is really, that's not good. But yeah, it's that's the way we are. Now, let's talk about your post, because you have to go early to pick up your kids from school and stuff. So adding generative summaries with Chrome AI, what does that mean? And how did you do that?
So the Chrome team, for about a year or so, they've been working on adding AI models to the browser itself. They've gone through a bunch of iterations and different APIs and such. They're at a pretty good stage now where I think of the 6 APIs, 3 are actually released, Chrome only, obviously. Safari will probably never add it. But for progressive enhancement type examples, I think it works really well. API is relatively simple, much like how most of Gen AI server-based APIs, they're pretty simple as well. Using them well is a whole other factor, but at least in this case, it's pretty easy to say, hey, if they have this API and this functionality, we can provide a new feature to our users. And I think things like summarization, offering to rewrite, help you clean up text and stuff. Those are kind of tools I could actually see people using. So I'm happy to see this go into Chrome, even if it's only Chrome for the future.
Hmm. I mean, it feels cool to be able to access these kind of things, and I love it because it means that they stored something on your machine, which is a huge model or a small model as well. But I kind of always feel like this is the kind of stuff that I expect the operating system or the browser to do for me. Like, like it feels like when people do like read this blog post in a generated voice using some third-party service, I'm like, the operating system can do that for me nowadays as well. Like, it feels like, I guess Google needs that internally, of course. So they actually
Mm.
make it available to the outside world as an API. I love that to bits. But I'm always like wondering what's the use case of it. If it were to like text to image conversion or these kind of things, the more harder bits, then it would be more interesting to me. But the other thing that I had in the past when I tried to play with that was that a lot of times the interesting APIs would be outside of the sandbox of the browser. So I need to write an extension to actually use them rather than having
Mm.
them as just in JavaScript in the browser. Has that changed, or is that still the case?
Right now, again, if you're okay with Chrome only, it's fairly baked in. There's not much that you have to do. It's so to your point about the OS doing it. One of the APIs they just released about 2 months ago is a proofreading API, and it'll do spelling and grammar on that end. I presented on this topic 2 days ago, and I'm like, I don't see a use for this because the operating system does do that. Like we're used to simple text areas already highlighting spelling issues and stuff like that. So, uh, yes, I'm with you on that. I do think having more control can be useful. So, if I want to do a simple rewriting tool, like I'm trying to help people who don't write normally, and I want to give them the option to use AI to make it more formal or make it
Hmm.
shorter, longer, whatever. Uh, yes, the OS could possibly do that, but I could see wanting to have that fine-grained control in my particular CMS to have control over the experience, to do things like, I'm not just going to blow away your text. I'm going to show you to the side. This is what I'm suggesting. Do you like it? And that way, the user then could have control over whether that's applied or not.
Yeah, and I think then it of course becomes the UX of it as well. Like, how do you colorize that? How do you show that kind of thing? That's an interesting one as well. Because I mean, like in Google, in Gmail, when I start writing something, it now asks me polish, and then with like the sparkle icon, and I'm writing in English, not in Polish, so that doesn't make any sense. But I find it like a lot of times these helpers can be like super intrusive rather than helpers. So that's where it will be interesting to give people the opportunity to actually do that on an API level and come up with better solutions than Google can. That might be
Mhm.
the interesting part there. Well,
Yeah, I'm very curious to see, where it goes. I'm generally pro Gen AI, and I'm also getting sickened by seeing it everywhere. Like Notepad has it now.
yeah.
Bit.
Some product manager got told you have to add this, and so they made it happen. Yeah, I'm hopeful that this is used in the right way, and we'll see.
Yeah, it also feels like, I mean, it rolled out on Mac first, then on Windows, and that's the other thing. Like, it always feels to me like there is a gatekeeping kind of thing like who can access that, because there's no W3C standard. There might be some in the making, I think, but that's where the competition between companies comes in, and it's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, what do you think? What shall we do, Raymond? Take a look at next. Like, what did you want to do in the browser with AI that you couldn't do yet?
Oh, that's a difficult one actually. On the spot, I'm not sure, because I definitely find that when you said that, Raymond, then that you've got this sort of love-hate with it. Where I find the same, where I instantly get something like an AI summary. I find is immediately useful because you've got some information, but it's just some information, and it's when someone goes, "Oh, is that true?" and you Google it, and then you think, I'm not sure if actually it's giving me a confirmed response because of the way I've questioned, the way I've posed the question. So you then find that you end up going deeper to the sources. And that's always the next step for me, where I say, why are they hiding sources or even making them tiny little footnotes? Sometimes that you're not, like on Wikipedia where they're numbers. I've seen them like that in summaries where I've thought, why is this not upfront? Tell me what this source is. So I think there's still some way to go towards like trying to make a nice summary that people can read to get a response, but then actually making that response verifiable would be the thing I would like, and just upfront with all of that. So I don't know exactly what that tool would look like, but it's not quite there.
I mean, it's going in the other direction. I remember I love Meta, when basically you're on Facebook and you have this like Meta button that actually takes the post that somebody made on Facebook and then has a question as a button to actually force you in interacting with their bot. And the other day I saw like a fun one that basically where somebody used a Scottish haggis, like made up animals that don't exist, and like basically said like, oh, the tourists are scaring the haggises again, and these kind of things. And the first 5 questions that Meta asked me to interact with, like, how old does a haggis get? Like, where are the most of the wild haggises? There's no validation of it. There's no like. Instead, it's just like, oh, let's just make people interact and click things and buy things. And I think that's where it gets worrying to me. Now, the CLI of Gemini is actually an interesting API offering by Google as well, and they now made it more, gave it even more powers because it can actually run tools for you and these kind of things. Have you looked into that one as well, or did you concentrate mostly on the browser stuff, Raymond?
I started my Gen AI exploration with the Gemini API, so it was all server-side type stuff. I've used the CLI a tiny bit. My usage is either in browser or doing Python calls to their API typically.
Hmm. Okay, but yeah, it's. I mean, people have been raving about the Gemini CLI because it gave you access to things that normally you pay a lot for.
Mm.
Like as a developer, you actually got access to that kind of stuff. I haven't used it much myself yet. Maybe we should get some other people in, like Tom, for example. Thomas Steiner. He was here before, and he spoke a few times as well. And he just wrote this interesting post about the in model management in Chrome. Because have you encountered that as well? That actually takes up a lot of your machine, or that you have granular access to it. Like how do I know how much Google is actually using my machine for their own AI stuff in Chrome?
Yeah, as far as I know, you don't get direct access to it unless you, on your own machine, go into your folders and track down the model. Uh, when you do anything with the AI stuff, like I'm going to do a summary, the first time that runs, it's going to download, I think 10, 15 gigs. Like it's small, but it's definitely not insignificant. And they give you an API to like know it's downloading. So you can do the right UX thing and say, hey, this is our first time doing the summary. It'll take me a little bit to load. I'll let you know when it's done. And in theory, once like site A does that, site B, if it's using the same API, won't have to worry about it. But the casual end user will not be able to go in and find their models, stuff like that. They do automatic cleanup. So if again the casual user, if they filled up their phone or whatever with lots of cat pictures, they will remove the model if it's taking up too much space. So that's nice. But as a developer, we don't really have the way any like direct way of managing that.
But that's a problem, isn't it? I mean, we can build this stuff, and then when we download it on our own machine, it works on my machine, but most of the end users will not actually download that. So you can only rely on the things that come with the browser. And I think what comes with the browser is not that much, is it?
Well, so my code can still prompt that download on your device. So as a casual user, you don't have to like add an extension or anything. It's just one more JavaScript library or one more web page doing stuff. So casual people don't need to have any technical knowledge to manage this. My code can do that. But if they were concerned about how much space was there, it's not going to be easy for a casual person to find that out.
Yeah, but I mean, you say, okay, my JavaScript can do that, but if it's a 10 gig download or a 1 gig download, like, how does the end user know about it, or why is my machine dying?
Yeah, unless you tell them, they won't know. So, like in my simple blog post where I have like a button, like click here to summarize stuff, uh, I'm pretty sure I wrote the code that like adds a little message saying, "Hey, I'm downloading," but I had to choose to do that to let them know this is why your summary is taking so long.
Hmm. And talking about like writing your blog post, I love that post as well with the that like in the vibe coding thing, Karpathy said like, don't write blog posts, don't do slides, don't do any of that. Build the code, arrange it, get it to work. The only way to go. Otherwise, you're missing knowledge. And yeah, he disagrees with that person. And I really think, yeah, it's correct. Like as you said earlier, you can have your own voice on your blog, and nobody can stop you from doing it. And I found it very interesting, like the most useless stuff that I posted about that I just wanted to remember myself are the most successful blog posts I have.
Yeah, same for me. The things that I think are too low level, basic, whatever, get the most traffic, get the most interest. And it's been that way for my blog launched in 2003, and it's been that way since day one, pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, Dan, I mean, how about you? Like, I mean, the joy of just being able to do that stuff rather than just writing code to do it for me is something I don't want to give away.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think I was just thinking then about in this article, it kind of talks about building being the best way to learn, and I take issue with that because I think that there's a good pyramid to look at. Really, it's called Bloom's taxonomy, I believe it is, and it's to do with how people learn. And it's essentially that you move up through each of the stages, starting with like, I can remember this word so I can say it back to you. I don't know what it means, but and then moving up through, I understand it, I can apply this and see it in new things, ending with, and now I can build things with this knowledge. Now ending with, now I can build things with this knowledge. So I think when you're saying that, you write these blog posts and people come and go, oh, thank you, that really low level thing that I sort of implicitly knew, maybe I didn't at all, but your blog post has helped me learn it in a really formalized way in my head. That is, I think, because people are trying to learn by building, and then they realize I have like a really poor foundation because I don't have the knowledge underneath it all, So I think that's where your blogs are. Chris, I've told you before, I've used probably 20 of your blogs, not even on purpose, just looking for a very specific answer. And then you've written a blog 15 years ago about it. And it shows that that's the really valuable stuff, though, that those blogs that you've forgotten all about. So, yeah, don't stop writing blogs, people.
Yeah, I as a very concrete example, I've heard about the abort controller for a couple of years now. It's never really made sense to me. Blog post I found last week, bam, that was instantly what I needed to understand it.
Jake Archibald, or what was it?
I forget who it was.
Yeah, yeah, but it's that's the fun thing as well. Like the amount of people that I found to invite as speakers at our events, or to actually hire as well back then. Like when I worked in Yahoo, I made the company's money's worth of paying me just by hiring 15 people in the first half year. And it was all people that I knew from mailing lists, that I knew from blog comments, that I knew from that little world that we live in. And I think it's a very important thing not to be just the winner of that, like get the most clicks, get the most views, but actually maybe the slow burning, longer things are something to strive for as well. It's tough because it needs dedication, and it needs, sometimes you wait for years for it to be fruitful, but then it actually is an interesting outcome of that. So Raymond, do you have still have time, or do you have to leave? We're trying to remember.
I got 4 minutes.
Cool. Well, I mean, yeah, that was delightful to have you on the show. I mean, it's like it's great to see somebody who's been around for so long, and we both kind of like always played with new technologies and sorted things out. We talked earlier that your whole room is full of Star Wars stuff. Like, what's with that? Like,
What's with that? When I was very young, there were 2 movies that like hit me. One was Star Wars, just because I have fun space swords and laser swords, and the other one was Tron. So both movies just had an incredible impact on me, and now I have a salary and I could buy toys based on those movies.
Yeah, Tron. I mean, the new one just I didn't even bother. Like, I mean, I love the original one for its kookiness, the way it looks right now. But back then, it was groundbreaking. If you get a chance to look at the making of that, like the way they did the computery look of all the real actors and the backgrounds and how they blended that in 1984, it's just absolutely 1982 was actually absolutely groundbreaking. And then the new one, which felt like a music video for Daft Punk, but it was also good. It has its merits, but I just don't. Jared Leto is a problem. I'm not sure. Have you seen it, the new one, the Ares one?
Yes, and I liked it. I will say it took me like about a third of the movie to like really get into it. But when I did, it's a music video, but it's one that I enjoyed. So
fair enough. Yeah. I mean, in Star Wars, in the original movie, like in A New Hope, they actually have to they had to get the plans of the Death Star to the rebellions, to the rebels, right? You know why she couldn't email it?
Why?
Because Obi-Wan is a Jedi and attachments are not allowed.
That's horrible.
I like the reaction. That's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's we only learned about in the prequels that these are not allowed. That was never mentioned in the original movie as well. Like, it's funny how lore around something becomes bigger and bigger the longer it lasts. And I think same with programming and same with like those environments.
I think it's a thing in these sci-fi movies that like have a canon, like these are the rules of this universe, and I appreciate that. It's like why I like the Dungeons and Dragons. You're putting rules behind dragons and stuff. At the same time, as a writer, I'm like, yeah, rules are fine, but you can also just throw them away and go crazy. Why not? Have fun.
Yeah, to the suspension of disbelief is the big one about movies anyway. It's like, it's great to see that these things last that long, and I always wondered like how much of the Star Wars and also Star Trek stuff now that kids are basically forced to do because the parents are into it. That feels like a lore that goes from your parents to here's my level of geekiness octroyated on you as well.
I've tried to get my kids into Star Wars, and they're not happening, which is fine. It's good enough for me.
Cool. Well, talk about good enough for us. I think that's good enough for us today as well on the live show. Raymond, thank you so much. Everybody loves Raymond, and we had a good show, and it's fun to see you. We have a event coming up, which is AI and performance. So it would be interesting if you're interested to give a talk there about the on-device stuff. So let's sort that one out. That's on the 27th of November. And it's virtual as well, and it will be later than this, so you actually will be already have showered and stuff.
Cool.
So that would be good.
That sounds great, and thank you for having me.
And any last words for our audience? What do you want people to do? What?
Attend to your mental health.
Good advice.
Very much. That's what I'm going to do now as well. Thanks very much, Dan. Thanks very much, Raymond. This was WeAreDevelopers Live for today, and now all dress up for Halloween and have a fun time out there. See you soon. Thank you.